Welcome to the Fish Bowl, right, everybody. My name is Chief here, and joining me today is Jalen. We're going to be doing our basically talking about a very important topic that is going to be happening here in the upcoming future for sure in college football. It's this is a conversation we need to have here, and ESPN and Disney obviously want a G5 playoff. Now throughout the day, I've been looking at message boards from several different G5 conferences to get down into what do the fans want. I went on like Sunbelt CSMBBS and specific schools like I even went on they have a Cajun fan board that I went and look at to kind of see like what like kind of search through to kind of see what are people's thoughts without having to ask a bunch of people. So um they want a G5 playoff. Now, several things I saw on those message board was you're gonna lose a lot of TV money. That's one thing they said. Number two, you're gonna lose like a lot of Power Fives would not do the money games as much anymore. They would be doing like the lower P5 games, which I kind of disagree with that, but we'll talk about that later on here. So without further ado, let me introduce everybody to Jalen. How you doing today, Jalen?
I'm doing great, Chief. I can't say the same for our Cajuns football team, but hey, I've been to Disney a couple times. Maybe the Cajuns part of G5.
Yep. So New Orleans Bowl, we have our own issues here in Cajun land, obviously. Said it last episode of Des didn't win. He's definitely on the hot seat, without a doubt. He's two back-to-back years of losing records. It's only so much you can take here. The basketball team isn't having that great of a season, but I mean, Bob Marlin is not on the hot seat. I know there's some fans that don't like Bob Marlin. There's a segment out there that don't like Bob Marlin, but he has a Sun Belt Conference championship under his belt within the last 4 years, obviously happened last year. He almost did it back to back the year before that. But even then, he was kind of struggling that year. So we'll see what happens here, right? So, I mean, he had a good run last year. Got the Cajun. It's different for basketball and it's different for baseball, obviously, because well, basketball only gets one bid. At least Coach Des and them have like multiple bids they can actually go to bowl games and stuff. But which leads me to my other point here. We have a lot of bowl games for the Sun Belt here and Conference USA and all these other G5 conferences here. So why you think Disney and ESPN, they've made it kind of clear they've been moving the goalposts kind of further away from the G5, even though they are going to get their spot in the playoff basically next year. What you think, Jalen?
Honestly, I think with what's happening next year when it's expanding to all those 12 teams, I think the G5 teams from the Sun Belt could get in, and well, should get in. A team from Conference USA could get in. So the committee is now including the G5, but at the same time, Disney is like, hey, what if we have our own G5? So that way we can make our own money on the side. Everybody can play fair competition. Honestly, I I think it would be a it's very interesting for the group of five to have their own little conference going because that way you can see what is it. I mean, you never know. It could be Louisiana versus Tulane for a championship. I mean, I would love to go watch that game, and I think the competition is better between Tulane playing Louisiana, playing UL, than them playing LSU, who's in the SEC. So I think the competition aspect is where you're kind of like, okay, if they have the whole G5 thing on its own, the competition will be there. But at the same time, like people are saying, the TV deals, I mean, money talks. They would lose a lot of money with those deals. So it's kind of back and forth. It's kind of where you got to look at, does this positives outweigh the negatives? And if they do, we'll have to see if that idea comes to fruition.
Well, you remember we talked about this a couple of weeks ago where they had like the NCAA president saying there are about 102, 103 teams that are going to be in this new subdivision, and we call baloney on it. And they want to have a power two, whether it be between the SEC and the Big Ten. Now, you see the big schools still playing these like FCS schools right now, like LSU played against LSU played against my foot was itching a little bit there. But LSU was playing I think Grambling was it last year or like
Yeah,
really I think it was last season or this season, was it?
they did play Grambling.
I know it was very recent. It might actually I think it was this year. Yeah, it was this year, the second game of this year. Like
Yep.
examples like that. We've seen like Alabama get criticized for their playing FCS schools in November and stuff like that. So that I mean, I don't think it's gonna be that kind of an issue here. I think there's still gonna be kind of the same thing here. I think if they do decide in that regard, they have to work some kind of deal out with the playoff committee to where they could actually like, hey, we demand one big money game to help our athletic budget get through to support this playoff here that they obviously it's shaping up that way. They're positioning themselves to get to that point here. Now, granted, am I a big fan of it? Not really too much because why even include these people in a division where you just want to move it away anyway? What's going to become FCS then at that point? You allowed all these teams to come in the first place, and it's like, okay, where do we pump the brakes? This is too many, so we got to make our own segment for these schools. It's like basically the G5 is going to become a farm system, basically, like we talk about NIL. And NIL really accelerated the pace of this G5 and P5 thing. Once that they let NIL and transfer portal take over, it's going to become a farm system, basically. It'll only help the P5 school they miss recruits, and now they don't have to really do as much research anymore. Um, like Tyron Lacey's coming back to LSU, for example. Left UL, went to LSU. Now he might be their wide receiver one, or maybe their wide receiver two, depending on who they get out of the portal and stuff. You never know about these kind of things here. So that is something that how it relates to the Cajuns. Where do the Cajuns fit in this whole entire thing is a very relatively unknown about where they're going to end up being at here. Because if you look at how UL's position is in the G5 right now, is they have a lot of different directions they could possibly take here. I think even going to the Big 12, like so many Cajun fans do want as their Power 5 destination, is not going to happen because, first off, they ain't got the money to do it. Secondly, the Big 12 is not going to exist in probably a couple of years anyway. Texas and Oklahoma basically making sure that's going to happen. There's a reason why all these big programs are just like, all right, come on to Noah's Ark here because everything's flooding around us. And that's basically what's going on. You're going to have all these schools, basically, the Power Two is going to get on this big Noah's Ark boat, basically. And if you're not on that boat, then you're just, done. You're not going to be a part of the Power Two, and you're not going to be a part of like the premier level of college football, which is almost like a minor league at this point for the NFL, if you're really looking at it that kind of way. But I mean, you look at out of conference games, I don't think they're going to stop because they're still playing FCS schools, like I told that before. As far as TV deals, ESPN wants more money. The best way to make more money is to get more people watching games, which is, for advertisers, they're looking for eyeballs. They're looking for people like me and you to sit down there on the couch and watch these kind of games here. And they're looking at the bowl system like, well, the games really don't matter in the bowl era too much anymore for like TV ratings are down that for maybe not those games, but like attendance for sure is down. So that hurts them. So they're trying to get people like ideas like what can we do to get more viewership into the New Orleans Bowl? I know Louisiana fans were not over there like they were in 2011 because I hate when people try to bring up 2011 for the Cajun fan base because it's like it was something brand new. We had never experienced anything like that ever before. It was something new. And when you bring something new, more people are attracted to it. Like, look at the Sun Belt Championship game. They had over 30,000 people at Cajun Field for that game here. And I mean, they still didn't fill up Cajun Field, which is why they're doing the demo work. But look, they had the most ever for a Sun Belt Championship game. They had 30,000 people over there. People love going to see championship games if they're on a standalone basis, where like Alabama and Georgia kind of messed up Troy because they had their own SEC title game at the same time, which if there was a playoff involved in that, they could push that Troy and App State game back maybe a week or so, build up more momentum, like winner goes to the playoff kind of deal, or, these two teams are going into the playoff, or who's going to get like a bye to go into the playoff. There's a lot more involved in that, and you'll be more willing to watch and see, ooh, Troy or App State, who's going to make a deeper push for the G5, because the people that don't like a certain Power Five school in the state is going to watch a G5 playoff, and they're catering to that kind of fan base. And this going to be more traditional. It'll be like just like the FCS, basically. They're going to take probably top 25 seeds or top 26 seeds or whatever, make them all play each other, and we'll just go from there. What do you think, Jalen?
Yeah, I think, like I said, the whole thing is really interesting. And at the end of the day, I mean, I'm gonna just use the Cajuns as an example. It's like, let's say next year they win the Sun Belt, and I know we're gonna get to it, the bowl game later, but let's say they win the Sun Belt, and they go into the college football playoff, and they play a team like Alabama. I mean, we all know what the results of that game is going to end up being. I hate to say it. And a lot of people are not going to tune in or go to that game because they know what's going to happen. But it's great the Cajuns made it. But at the same time, it's not going to be a game. Whereas if they're playing in the G5 against a team, let's say Miami, Ohio, in a Mid American Conference, then everybody be like, okay, that's cool. I want to tune into that game. If it's in Miami, hey, let's go catch a flight. Let's drop like let's go. Let's see the Caden, the winner of that game wins the championship. Oh yeah, let's go. So I think this upcoming couple years from now, they're debating between the G5 and the P5. It's like it's so much you have to think about. But I think it's at the end of the day, I think it's all gonna be fun.
Yeah, I mean, like the only way the G5 makes it without like them imploding this whole entire thing is, I think if they one of them teams, if looking like not this year, it's going to be whoever makes it next year. I'll use Liberty as an example. Liberty has a very good opportunity to prove that they like, hey, the G5 is just as good as the Power Five. If they end up winning their bowl game, that is a big thing right now. Next year, whoever makes the playoff for the G5 has to make a deep run. They can't just win one game and call it done in a 12-team playoff. They win two games, they make then people are start raising eyebrows like, okay, like a Cinderella in March Madness. People love Cinderellas, people love underdogs. So that's what would make more people like root for them. That's why people like still bring up App State beating Michigan all those years ago in 2007. Look, I think I was like entering my teenage phase, and when I saw that, and that was one of the craziest moments I've ever seen as a college football fan. Um, like the Cajuns, I remember almost upsetting Florida. That was one that I remember, and just gave it away at the end. I think that was back in like 2011 or 2012. I think it was 2012, honestly, now that I think back about it. But yeah, like moments like that, right? Like you remember certain things about it, like, oh, that was like the beginning of the HUD era. And it was cool to be a Cajun back then. That was one thing. Like it was cool to do these kind of things. Now, is the G5 format going to survive? I have no idea. But they're definitely setting the stage up for it. And I think we need to prepare ourselves for it if we're going to be Cajun fans, and how to like that helps the rest of our program. And only in football, though. I don't think that in baseball and basketball, those sports really don't matter as much in terms of money coming in, because basketball makes a little bit of money usually most of the time. Like at UL, I mean, like overall, it don't make as much money for the athletics as football does. Like you're comparing apples to oranges at that point. And everybody knows it's not me like talking down on Bob Marlin or any of his job or anything that he's doing. It's just a generalized sports thing. More people watch football than they do basketball. That's just a fact of viewership. If you go Google it yourself, and you'll see why I'm right in that regard. But yeah, it's an interesting one though, for sure. But enough talking about that there. There is one more point I want to bring up here. I just thought about it. So you might get the sense of feeling that some people like these regional rivalries. Like think about Ohio State and Michigan for a second here. Like, could you imagine UL and Louisiana Tech playing each other every single year in a playoff game for a championship on the line? Look, there's some cool things to look at. Like, you can't accuse anybody from running anybody will make the playoffs, right? You got to play each other. That's just the way it's going to be. These more regionalized conferences, which Sun Belt has done. I think Sun Belt Chairman Keith Gill has positioned the Sun Belt that is ready for this kind of moment. There's a reason why he did what he did. He probably sees the writing on the wall like the rest of us do here. That's kind of sitting back and seeing it happening here. The money's going to win out, and I don't think there's any. I really don't see them being 102 teams. I think there's going to be whatever's left of the Power Two, which is Big Ten and SEC, kind of taking control of this thing and kind of dictating what the NCAA is going to do. NCAA, the moment they said, all right, transfer portal, NIL, just have at it, just go what you got to do, was the moment they literally said, yeah, we concede to the SEC and the Big Ten because they got too much influence in here. So we'll see here. Let's talk about some Cajun basketball here, Jalen.
Let's
I
do it.
wish I was talking about like a nicer note, but we just lost to McNeese by 2 points. And social media has been ablaze. McNeese was like, here's that extra L y'all can have here. Look, it's McNeese's Super Bowl. The Cajuns are constantly in McNeese's head. They're like, literally, you can basically go on Spotify and play not Mariah Carey, or like play Obsessed, right?
Yep.
And you'll understand what we're talking about here. So, why are you obsessed with me? Basically, is what you could talk about. Like Mariah Carey, definitely. You can basically put that with McNeese, and that is their theme and anthem for the Cajuns, basically. So, um, yeah, even though the records dictate something different in history, but look, I'll give them the props. Will Wade did a good job. Cajuns did not shoot well that night, and they ended up losing the game. So, the Cajuns have gotten better down low for sure the last couple of games here, but it's not like we're just not hot right now. That's kind of on a cold trend. We lost kind of been around like we lost 3 of our last 4 games. So that's something kind of worrying some though. Go on the road to take on Rice. I think the Cajuns will beat Rice, and they got in their Sun Belt Conference opener against Marshall. I think they'll beat both those games. I think they'll get back on track for sure here. But the Cajuns here, if we're looking at, let's look at their net rating right now. Their nets, they've only been successful in quadrant three. They're 2-1, 0-2 in quadrant two, 0-2 in quadrant one. So RPI wise, same records across the board. Quadrant four, 2-0, 2-0. Looking at the predicted results here, Cajuns live RPI right now is at 176, so it's not looking too good for the Cajuns here, for the giggles here. It's for the season got the Cajuns finishing 500, which they feel like a 500 team. It's got them going 10-1 at home and 2-12 on the road. So yeah, the Cajuns just don't play good on the road for whatever reason. Now this predictor is saying I'm wrong. Basically, it's got them losing to Rice and it's got them losing to Marshall. It also has them losing to James Madison, which I think that's when the home streak actually ends against number 20, James Madison, which I would love to go see that game and see what all the buzz is about, but it's going to be a big Sun Belt conference game there. What you think, Jalen? Yeah, how you think the Cajuns can get back in the swing of things and start winning games?
It's a tough stretch the Cajuns are on. Like you said, the last couple games it hasn't been in a row, but they've lost a couple of games, and it's just the fact that it's close game. They lost by 2 to McNeese. But McNeese is 2 and 2. I'm sorry, reverse that. They're 10-2 on the year. They beat a VCU team in the first game of the year, who's in the athletic 10. I mean, McNeese is playing great. Will Wade, I think we always known as could be a good coach, but he always comes with a little trouble. But he had his guys ready, and he wasn't scared of Louisiana, and it showed. They won the game. But I think for the Cajuns, and what's crazy, Chief, is like earlier, I went to the Boys and Girls Club where the Raging Cajun men's basketball team, they were there handing out the kids gifts. They were playing foosball with them, playing basketball with them. Just the team and Coach Marlin were there. It's like they have great chemistry. They all like each other. You can just tell from the moment you see them hanging out. Now, the thing about it is, I make this point is because I want to see that translate to the court. If they could take what they do off the court and put it on the court, they can win more games. I feel like this team is still a younger team. They got guys who are great basketball players, but they have to play well together. A lot of pieces are gone with new pieces coming in. I just think that they have to gel together more as a team, and they have to do it now. If it's not now, it's never going to happen. Because, like you said, with the stretch of Rice, then starting with Marshall, and then you have James Madison, who's probably the top team in the Sun Belt right now, and they're still undefeated. Oh yeah, it's going to be a tough break for the Cajuns.
Yeah, so the Cajuns only shot 48% from the floor. McNeese shot 51.1%. Cajuns were 38% beyond the arc. McNeese was 46.7%. Cajuns did shoot better from the free throw line. They were at 85%. McNeese was at 67.9%. Rebounds, McNeese out rebounded the Cajuns 29-24. Turnovers, McNeese turned the ball over 15 times compared to the Cajuns 11. And McNeese did one more steal than the Cajuns 6-5. So McNeese, you know what? At halftime, they were down. They made a big run here. They had a 19-4 run that spanned over 4 minutes and 18 seconds, and it gave them a 61-59 lead. And, you know, with 3 minutes, 54 seconds remaining, the Cajuns were only trailing by 4. And Karen Crojo buried back-to-back three-pointers to put the Cajuns ahead by 2. So, and Demas Falks then hit a pair of free throws with 1:22 to go. Then DJ Richards hit a three-pointer with 47 seconds remaining, and the Cajuns had one final attempt. Charles attempted a 24-foot three as time expired, and, you know, it just wasn't enough at the end of the day. So that's how that game ended there for the Cajuns. And, you know, Garnett led the way with 19 points for the Cajuns. He was 5 of 6 shooting, including 4 3-pointers. So, but Jalen, you think the Cajuns can beat Rice and beat Marshall?
I think they can beat Rice, and I honestly think they can beat Marshall. But it's just that James Madison game right there. Like James Madison has a great team, and the Cajuns have them at home. I don't want to see that home win streak be over with, but I would say this: the those young guys on the bench, somebody has to step up for the Cajuns to beat James Madison. If not, that's going to be their first L at home.
Yep. We'll see what happens here. So without that going on, let's switch over to the women's here. The women's here, they're coming off a loss themselves, and it wasn't really a pretty one either. They lost LSU earlier this year as well. So so far their RPI right now is 199, and they've only won two. Wait, why is this thing showing this? This is weird. Okay, I get it now. They have 4 wins on the year and 5 losses. I was getting tripped up a little bit here. They're going to play LSU Shreveport, which they'll win that game. They're going to play them tomorrow at the Cajun Dome. It's their education game, so they should win that one. Then they get a nice little Christmas break, and they'll start the Sun Belt Conference opener against App State at the Cajun Dome. So it's kind of tough to say. I think they'll lose to App State. I think they'll lose the opener. Old Dominion's taking care of business right now, only having 1 loss in the year. So we'll see what happens with that there. But yeah, I got the Cajuns dropping it to App State. It's going to be a tough one for them. So let's look at the predicted results for women's basketball. Now that we're getting a little bit further on in the year, this is more telling signs here that are coming up. 12-13. with an RPI of 165. It's got them beating App State, losing to Old Dominion. It's got them beating LSU Shreveport. Old Dominion, James Madison, Troy, and Arkansas State. They got them losing 4 consecutive games. So looks like it might be tough sledding for the Cajuns for a little bit, looking like through January. The only games in January got them winning against Texas State, Coastal, and Troy. It's got them splitting the 2 games with Troy, even though Troy only has 1 win on the year. So Tamara Johnson, she's been great so far this year. Jalen, what you think about this upcoming stretch for Raging Cajun women's basketball?
Yeah, honestly, this stretch is not looking good. They already are on a 3 game losing streak, losing to, well, getting blown out to LSU, which we all kind of expected it. But I didn't expect a blowout, but I expected them to lose against LSU, then to lose to Lamar and then North Texas. It's like they're on a 3 game losing streak. Yes, they do have LSU Shreveport, which should be a easy win for them on Tuesday. But then you got Sunbelt play starting. They'll be at home against App State, who's a tough out. Then you on the road against Old Dominion, who's only lost 1 game. Then James Madison on the road. Then Troy, like 4 straight road games. After that, it's like it's a tough stretch for the Cajun women's team. But like you said, Tamara Johnson's playing great. Um, I'm glad to see some of the new pieces that they have on the team are kind of gelling together. Brandy Williams is trying to get back into her form like she was a couple of years ago, but being the great shooter that she is. But it's just a tough stretch for the Cajuns. Now they can win a couple of these games, and in Sunbelt play, they should be able to make a run down the stretch. But it's not looking good, but it's not looking bad either. If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, they're kind of like this average right now, and that's something they're gonna have to like figure out here. So, in regards to like information from their last game, which was against North Texas, which they lost 71 to 48 here. So, looking at the stats from that game here, the Cajuns were somewhat with them a little bit for the first half, and then that third period they really lost it. 20 to 6 was the score. Um, that's when they really broke it free. North Texas was shooting 51% from the floor. Caden were only shooting 32%. And that right there basically tells you how that game went. 30% from 3-point land for both teams. Free throws, they're about the same. North Texas 76%, Cajuns at 75%. Rebounds, North Texas really controlled the paint in this game. 42 rebounds, Cajuns only had 23 turnovers, 18 for North Texas and 15 for the Cajuns. So that's something we have to look at here. Lene Wheaton did good, Tamaya Robinson. That was the ones that really led the way for the Cajuns here. Wheaton had 10 points, Robinson had 9 points. So we'll see what happens here for the Cajuns here, but hopefully they can get something going here. So we'll see what happens here. What you think? Anything else you want to add, Jalen, before we get off here?
Um, Well, I just want to say happy holidays to everyone. Christmas is coming up. I mean, I think it's one of the favorite times of the year. And we roll into 2024, which is going to be here soon. Same show, same us, but new year.
Yep. We're gonna be doing some new stuff in the new year for sure here on the Fishbowl Radio. Here, I hope you have a great, wonderful week here. It should be something very exciting to see what we got cooking up here at the Fishbowl Radio. Hope you have a great and wonderful day. We'll see you next time here on the Fishbowl Radio.